welcome to Lovin' Life's Journey DIY. Thank you so much for being here. If you are new to my channel, my name is Chantel and I love to do budget DIYs, Dollar Tree DIYs, and basically just crafting of all types. So if you enjoy that, then you're in the right place. In today's video, I am going to be doing some projects using a lemon theme. But these projects can be done in any theme or design style just by changing up the supplies that you use. So I'm really excited to share these with you, so let's get to it. For this project, I will be using this 12-inch wood wreath base, and I believe these are a new item at Dollar Tree. I'll also be using this package of lemons that I got at Hobby Lobby. The regular price was $9.99 on these, but if you get them on a 40 or 50% off sale, it's actually a really good deal because you do get a lot of lemons in this package, and they have several different options for sizes and colors and types of lemons, and so I would definitely check at your hobby stores or craft stores if you can't find lemons at Dollar Tree. And they do also have like stems of just a couple of lemons, but those are not as good of a deal because there's only 2 lemons for $3.99 on these here. But there's definitely some different options if you can't find lemons at Dollar Tree. I'll also be using some 2.5-inch wired ribbon. I did get this on sale at Hobby Lobby, and it's so cute and perfect for this project. I will also be using this wood home word that I picked up at Dollar Tree, as well as one of these silver dollar greenery stems from Dollar Tree, and I'll be using some black chalk paint. I'm going to start out by painting my wood wreath base using the black chalk paint, and I'm going to paint it on the front and the back and on the edges as well. I was excited to find these wood wreath bases at Dollar Tree, and I only picked up one. I don't know why, so I would recommend if you see them to pick up a couple because these have so much potential for using in DIY projects. While that's drying, I'm also going to put a coat of black chalk paint on the top of my home word. When I was first planning this project, I thought that I was going to use the ribbon to make a bow, but then I got the idea to just wrap it across the center of my hoop and then use that kind of as a backdrop for attaching my word to. And I just like this because it's different than just adding a bow to a wreath, and so it just gives it a little bit more interest. And it also leaves me with a lot of that really cute lemon ribbon to use for other projects too. So I'm just attaching it tightly with some hot glue and then trimming off the extra, just folding it over the edges and just making sure it's pulled as tightly as I can. So now I'm going to start laying out my lemons and my greenery, and I'm going to make a little arrangement on the top and the bottom and kind of offset them a little bit, but this is completely personal preference. This is where you can get your creative juices flowing and just arrange things to your liking. So I always kind of pre-arrange my florals and get them to kind of where I like them and have an idea before I start gluing anything down. So that's why I'm just arranging things here, and then you'll see me kind of take it all apart and then put it back together while I'm gluing it. I just like to get a visual before I start making things permanent. And you'll notice here that I am adding in just a few little yellow flowers. These are just some that I had on hand from Dollar Tree. I just felt like it needed a little bit extra filler, so I did put those in. And so like I said, this is where you can use your creative juices and just add if you think it needs something extra. And Just make it your own. So I didn't do this on purpose, but this video with the lemons is very fitting because, sometimes life does give us lemons. And you may have noticed that I have not had very many videos recently, and that's because we've had our fair share of lemons. My husband ended up in the ER with kidney stones. He has a chronic problem with that. And then he had to have two follow-up surgeries. Then he got sick, and then I got sick, and it's just been one thing after another for the last 2 months. So, sometimes life gives us lemons, but that doesn't mean that we can't learn and grow through those experiences and love life's journey along the way and just look forward to the lemonade. So to finish this up, I just hot glued my word onto the ribbon, and I think this is so perfect for summer. I love how it turned out. For this project, I will be using this cute little easel board that I found at Dollar Tree, and it's the pre-finished kind of white shiplap looking finish, so that's perfect. I'm also going to be using a little piece of scrap wood that I had. If you don't have this, you could use something just like a few tumbling tower blocks as well. I found this cute little lemon ribbon at Dollar Tree, and so I'm going to be using this for some embellishment. I'll also be using a little bit of white chalk paint and some brown antique wax. You could just use a brown craft paint too. I'm going to be adding my little extra piece of wood to make a larger ledge on this. And so I'm going to measure the length that I want and use my miter box and saw just to trim off the excess. Then I'll just go over that really quick with a little bit of sandpaper to smooth off the edges. And then I'll give it a coat of the white chalk paint. So the little easel board has the shiplap or wood grain look in it. So I want to make this look similar. So I'm going to use my brown, this is antique wax, but you can use brown craft paint. And I'm going to just lightly dry brush this to make it have the same sort of look. For those of you new to crafting, dry brushing just means you put a very little bit of paint on a dry brush and lightly brush over your project. And this will give it some dimension and those kind of wood grain type lines. It's also a good way to make something look more aged. To attach my little ledge, I'm going to be using this super glue wood glue that I picked up at Dollar Tree. This stuff works great. And you don't need as much as I ended up getting there, but just a small amount of this and it will attach really well. And I am using a little bit of hot glue to help secure it while the wood glue dries. Next, I'm going to add my lemon ribbon, just a strip across the bottom and then another strip across the top just for some embellishment. And of course, you could use any style of ribbon or embellishment that you want to. You don't have to make this a lemon theme. You can totally customize this to match the decor that you have or the area that you want to use it in. I hadn't planned to do this at first, but I decided it needed something extra, so I'm going to be using this rub-on transfer that says Simply Blessed and just add that to the center of the the board between the ribbons. I'm actually using this staple remover to apply this rub-on transfer. It works great for this. I use this staple remover for removing staples. But I use it for so many other things. It's a really inexpensive crafting tool. I do have it linked below in the description under my favorite crafting tools, so you can check those out if you are interested. To make sure my rub-on transfer stays on, I'm going to use some matte finish Mod Podge and just go over the top of that just to help seal it on. This is cute as just a simple little decor piece, and it looks great paired with a jar with lemons in it, but it's more than just a decor piece because by adding that little ledge on the bottom, it makes the perfect stand for your cell phone or small tablet, so that if you want to use that in your kitchen, maybe when you have a recipe pulled up on your phone or tablet, or if you are doing a video chat with someone while you're working, you can do that hands-free. And so just a really cute little stand, and it would make a great gift too. So that jar, I did get at Dollar Tree, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to dress them up. So I am going to add one of these Dollar Tree knobs to the lid of my containers. And so this part is too long, so I need to cut it off. So I'm going to use a hacksaw. You can get a hacksaw at Dollar Tree. They're not the best quality. This is just one that my husband had.
I wasn't able to actually clamp the knob into the vise to hold it because the knob is glass and I didn't want to break it, but I did use the vise to kind of give me a surface to just set the knob down into and then hold on to it and use the saw. And this was a little bit harder because it wanted to move around, and so it did take a little bit of uh, time to get this screw cut down, but I think it's well worth it once you see the finished project.
So I'm going to take the lid from my jar, and these are not real sturdy, so when drilling a hole, you're going to want to be careful not to bend the lid. So I used the end of the screw to find a drill bit that was the same width, and I'm going to use that. And it's real easy to see where the center of the lid is, so I'm going to just very carefully start drilling a hole. And like I said, I'm not going to press very hard because I don't want to bend the lid. You do have to apply a little bit of pressure or else it's not going to get started. So it's kind of a balancing act here. And there you go.
Then I just removed the nut and the washer from the knob, pushed the knob through the hole in the lid, and then replaced the washer and the nut and tightened it. I just tightened it with my fingers, and that's all there is to it.
Then I'm going to take my jar and I'm going to fill it with some of the lemons from that package that I had from Hobby Lobby. And once again, you could put anything that you want to inside this jar to match your decor. I found this unfinished wood tray at Family Dollar for just $5, and so I'm going to be using this for my next project. And then I'm also going to be using these self-adhesive tiles from Dollar Tree. I'm using 3 sheets of those. I'll be painting my tray with some linen white chalk paint and using some matte finish Mod Podge as well. I'm going to give my wood tray a couple coats of the white chalk paint. I'm not going to paint the bottom inside of the tray because I'm going to be sticking my adhesive tiles onto that, and so I don't want the paint to kind of mess with how well those adhere, so I'm just going to leave that the natural wood so I can attach my tiles, and hopefully they'll stick really well to that. Once the paint is dry, I'm going to adhere my tiles, but before I do that, I'm just using a damp rag and cleaning off that surface to make sure it doesn't have any loose particles, and then I'm going to use my heat tool just to make sure that it's nice and dry. I'm going to cut off the edges of the tile so that I still have the backing on it, so I can kind of lay it out and see how I want to put these down. Then once I have an idea of that, I can peel off the backing and actually stick them down. You could use any pattern of the self-adhesive tiles that they have, but I chose this one because I loved the color and the pattern, but I also thought it would be easy to put on the tray without having a lot of seams showing. I'm going to start by taking one of the tiles and peeling it off and sticking it down in one corner. Then I'm going to take the tile that I trimmed the edges off and just kind of place it in there to see where I need to trim it off so it fits. So I will mark that and then I will cut it down to size. I first tried to use a razor knife and a straight edge to cut this, but I wasn't getting a really clean cut, so I did kind of go over it a couple of times with the razor knife, but then I did use my scissors to trim it up and make sure I had a nice clean cut. Then I just made sure that that fit the space I wanted it to go in and peeled it off and stuck it down. So now I'm left with a strip along one edge that I need to cover, which is why I thought this pattern would work well. So I'm just using a scrap to mark the width of that, and then I will just kind of determine what the best way to fill that in is. And then I'll trim my pieces and cut them and stick them in there. So this looks great the way it is, but I'm going to add a little extra detail by dry brushing some of the white chalk paint over the top of this. This is just going to give the tiles a little bit more of an aged look, just a little bit more of a, I don't know, a more realistic look, I think. And so I'm just lightly going over the top of those. Then I'm going to take my matte finish Mod Podge and I'm going to go over this with a couple of coats just to seal that paint that I put on the top, but also to seal the seams of the tiles and just to help make this a more functional tray. And I decided to actually go ahead and seal the whole tray, all the sides and everything. For the finishing touch, I'm going to take some jute twine. I'm going to attach it on the underside of the handle, and then I'm going to wrap it around and around until I get the width and thickness that I want. And I just think this adds the perfect finishing touch for this tray. For this project, I will be using a pot that I picked up at Dollar Tree, and I'm also going to be using 3 of these lemon stems that I got at Dollar Tree as well. I'm going to be using some floral foam, and I'm going to be using these glass beads that I had on hand just for some weight in my pot. You can use any type of rocks or something heavy. For paint, I'm going to be using some chalk paint in the color black and also a dark brown. And I'm going to be using some brown Spanish moss. This is just some I had on hand. You can pick it up at any craft store or even sometimes at Dollar Tree. I also went out in my yard and I found a stick that I'm going to be using for the trunk of my lemon tree. I'm also going to use some green floral tape. If you have brown or you're going to buy floral tape, get brown, but because I already have green, I'm going to use this. I liked the size and shape of this pot, but they didn't have it in black, so I just got this pot and I'm going to paint mine using the black chalk paint. I painted all of the outside of my pot and I painted down a couple of inches into the inside of the pot as well. While that is drying, I'm going to set it aside and work on assembling my lemon tree. The stick I am using for this is about a ½ inch in diameter and 20 inches long, and then I'm using 3 of the long lemon stems from Dollar Tree. I'm going to start assembling my tree by putting one of the long lemon stems up toward the top of my stick, and then I'm going to attach it using the floral tape. And to use floral tape, you want to stretch it so that it gets sticky, and then you just wind it and wrap it around. Then I'm going to take another of the lemon stems and I'm going to add it a little farther down on my stick on one side and kind of spread the little branches apart. But I'm going to cover the entire stem using the floral tape. And then I'll add my third lemon stem to the stick as well. And then I'm going to just continue wrapping it so that it looks like one big trunk. And I'm just going to put in a shameless plug for my favorite little tool here. It's this little cordless USB vacuum, and it is in my favorite crafting tools down in the description box if you're interested. It's so worth it. Now that I have my tree all assembled, I am going to paint over my green floral tape. So if you have brown floral tape, you probably will not need to do this step, but I did not have brown, so I'm just going to use some chalk paint in the color of Truffle by Waverly and just paint my stem. I'm painting both the tape and any parts of the actual wood stick that are showing, because that way it will all be one uniform color. Now, because a tree is obviously not just one solid color, I am going to add a little bit of dimension or texture using a different color of brown. So this is just antique wax by Waverly. It's a darker brown, so I'm using that. You can just use a craft paint. You can use some lighter colors and darker colors, and I'm just going to go in with my brush and just dry brush a little bit over the little trunk of my tree. So now I'm going to prepare my pot to put my tree in, and so I am going to start by adding some of my weights. I'm using these glass beads just because I have a lot of them and I don't know what else I'm going to use them for. Like I said earlier, you can just use some rocks from your driveway, but just something to add a little weight so that your pot doesn't want to tip over. So I just put a few of those in the very bottom, and then I'm going to cut my piece of floral foam in half and put one piece of that in, and I'm going to push that down so that it's secure. Then I'm going to add this second piece of foam on top of that, and I'm going to secure that with just a little bit of hot glue so that it stays in place. Then I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of my glass beads around the floral foam, and this is going to just make it nice and solid so it won't be wanting to tip at all. Then I'm going to take my little lemon tree and I'm going to push that down into the floral foam, just right in the center, and get it kind of at the angle that looks good to me. And then I'm going to cover up those glass beads and the floral foam with some of my brown Spanish moss. And let me just show you why I love that little vacuum cleaner so much. If you have worked with Spanish moss, you know how messy it is, but look how this just vacuums it up so easily, and then you can just empty the vacuum and you're good to go. And this is also great for cleaning up crumbs on your kitchen table or kitchen counters as well. And I love that it's rechargeable and it's really affordable. So here is my finished lemon tree, and I think this looks great. Especially when you consider that purchasing one this size can cost over $50, and I made this one for less than $10. I hope you enjoyed these projects. Let me know in the comments which of them was your favorite, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. It really helps my channel and helps this video get seen by other people. And if you haven't subscribed yet and you love DIYs on a budget, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and also hit that bell to set your notifications so that YouTube will notify you every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a blessed day.